Hi, everybody. Welcome to Just Gaming Tingz, your queer perspective on all things gaming and nerdy. I'm Jam, and to my left, I have Chalora. To my right, I have Koga, and then we have Ruby and Spin. Say hi,
Hello,
everybody. Hello,
we're
hello, hello.
here.
All right,
Hello.
we're here. And we've got
Yes.
a bunch of fun things to talk about today. We're going to talk about a few different things. But we'll get started with Ruby talking about our first story.
Yeah. Y'all, today is gonna be a juicy episode. Our first story comes from GameSpot, and Sony teased a PlayStation response to Xbox Game Pass. Who would have thought? Nope. Xbox Game Pass is likely the most popular gaming subscription service right now, and all eyes are now on Sony's response to it. In a TASS interview, when asked directly on what Sony might have planned in order to compete with Game Pass, Sony Interactive CEO Jim Ryan stated that there's news to come. Ryan also pointed out that PlayStation does offer a competitor. They said, we have PlayStation Now, and that is available in a number of markets. Ryan also emphasized that the company will not be emulating certain parts of Xbox Game Pass's strategy. In particular, Ryan disagrees with Microsoft's tactic of releasing new games as soon as they come out on subscription services. He said, we are not going to go down the road of putting new releases into a subscription model. These games cost many millions of dollars to develop. We just don't see that as sustainable. So, y'all, do you think Mr. Ryan has a point in saying that that business model may not be sustainable long term? Or do you think that they should just get with the program and just do the thing? What do you think, Spid?
I okay, I see the point, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the point that Xbox is trying to make with Game Pass is I feel like they're not necessarily trying to make money on every single game. I feel like it's more about like brand loyalty and the consoles. Because I've noticed, like, especially this console generation, like a lot more people are talking about Xbox. Like even me, I'm probably gonna get an Xbox this time. So like I feel like that's the strategy. That's the move for Games Pass. And like, yeah, I get that it's not necessarily um like it doesn't seem like it would be the most um like financially sound move, and I get why Sony might not emulate that, but like I feel like that's not necessarily the point. Like I feel like it's definitely about building like a brand loyalty, and I think it's working for Xbox. um I'd be interested to hear Koga, what you think about this, because I know you're more of an Xbox person.
Um, I was with it until they mentioned about how they didn't want to put new titles on there. This does work very well for Xbox, and I do like that because there's some games I just probably wouldn't care to get or even pay attention to. And games are also being $70 now. That's quite a lot to ask for. So with Microsoft doing it this way, it allows more people to play the game. And if you're someone who's against the idea of being on a subscription service, you can still buy it. Because I do hear people, mention that argument. So I mean, it's not something that I am thrilled to hear them say, because that is something I would like to see. I mean, just being honest, they do have very good first party titles, and I would like for them to be there. But it also comes down to, okay, so what are you going to do with the service? What are you going to do? How much is it going to cost? What's going to be there? So we'll have to see. But it's kind of a bummer that new titles won't be on there, because I love that about Microsoft. Day one, it's already there, or day
Mm-hmm.
negative -3, depending on how they do the release. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
or how about you, Spen? I know you also a Xbox person like me, like myself.
I'm like slowly being converted into an Xbox person. Like
Oh,
kind of. I would love to see. Sony develop like a viable competition for Games Pass. I don't know if I'm super optimistic though. Like,
Right.
yeah, Ruby, what do you think? Like, what do you think it's gonna be
with
like?
this response, the first half of the article, I was interested because I was like, okay, they have something coming. There's news. There's something that they're gonna change. But on the other hand, I can understand how, like y'all said, it may not be the most financially wise decision to just be like, hey, day one, our games are, if you pay $10, our games are gonna be available to you. At the same time, if you're a Sony developed game, if you get millions of people like Xbox have to get those $10, you're probably going to get more money than if you were to get less people to purchase $70 games. However, there's also something to be said about the gaming audience and how faithful and loyal they are. Because let's be real, some people will get the collector's edition. Some people will pay hundreds of dollars for like a special edition, and they will do all of that, and they will pay for it. Not every Xbox user is using Game Pass. Like they said, it was like 70 or 80% of. Don't quote me on the exact number, but not all Xbox users have Game Pass. And there's also something to be said, like people like having ownership of games. Like some people like to just be like, I don't want to pay for a subscription. I want to pay 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks. I own the game. I don't have to have this subscription, especially if it's a longer game. Let's be real. Like if you're someone who's more into RPGs, a Games Pass situation is not going to be super helpful to you because it's going to take you probably like a couple months to get through a few titles. So they may just be like, yeah, I don't want to get Games Pass. I'm just going to, get the game on sale maybe, or I'll get the game in whatever way I want to, and I'll do it like that. Like I don't think it's I don't think it's mutually exclusive. Like he's making it seem as though like if people get Games Pass or this subscription kind of service, then you're not gonna keep buying games, or I don't know. It just seems it's interesting because he's not the first person in the gaming industry saying that this is not going to be sustainable in the long run. But yeah, what do you think, Chalora?
Um, I don't know. I've never had an Xbox, but I do have the Xbox Pass on the computer. And I think that it's great, but like I don't know. I think that they kind of have like different styles of subscription, if that makes sense. Like I feel like the Xbox, well, I've never had the Xbox subscription, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like they have whatever's new, if that's correct. But the PlayStation one, from my experience, typically has older games that maybe you missed that might not be available to purchase at the store, which I always appreciate personally. Like I know a good example would be like Puppeteer was a PlayStation 3 game, came out like 2010 or something, and my copy of the disc or something was scratched at the time that I wanted to stream it. And it just so happened to be on PlayStation Now the week that I wanted to stream it. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, you pay $10 and you get to play and keep the game, which is like the game was probably originally $15 to $20. So I wouldn't say that it's I don't know. I don't think Sony has anything to worry about, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like Sony is also like they have so much money. They're such a huge company anyway, so it's not like you doing this is gonna take away a lot. I guess a company like Microsoft can kind of withstand a little bit if there's a little bit of a financial hit because they do have so many other things going on. But I don't know. I think maybe there's a compromise there to be had. Like maybe don't have games that come out like maybe a month after or something, or maybe have it as like a PS Plus kind of situation. Because because they did a pretty cool thing with the PlayStation Plus collection. Like if you're on PS5 and you get PS Plus, you can actually have like a pretty decent library of PS4 games that you can like download and enjoy. So I wonder if they're gonna maybe have like occasional drops. I know they've been doing with PS Now a thing where they add a game for like a couple months and then it's done. Like maybe that's gonna be their solution to it. Maybe they're just gonna add bigger titles to that. But I don't know. What do you think, GM?
I think I would kind of agree with I think all of the opinions here. I think the thing that Microsoft and Sony I think don't have in common, like yes, they're both like these huge companies that have a lot of money, but Microsoft has so much money that, like you said, Ruby, like they can take a hit financially with like having these games out. But I think the other thing is, is I think, and I'm not quite sure if what the PlayStation representative was really saying was that like, oh, Xbox is releasing every new title. It's every new title that they make. So things that they own, they're like, here, it's on our service. But the thing is, they're not saying it's going to be there forever. They're not saying it's going to be there indefinitely. And the biggest thing that I think Xbox has done, and really why Game Pass has been so successful, is that a lot like PlayStation Now or PlayStation, I forget exactly, I think PlayStation Now, is that it kind of let you play 360 games that a lot of people missed out on during the last generation. Um, and so I think people will get into it that way more to like play maybe some of the older games, but then I think just the ability to quickly get access to some of these new games, because I'm still into physical media. So most of the games that I play on Game Pass, even if they're new, I will probably buy a physical copy of it, right? Because if I don't have an internet connection, I can't play it. But for the most part, without having to invest $60 in a game that I don't like after 2 hours, that becomes a thing that people don't want to do. And then you take the game back and they say, well, it's been opened and it's been used, and now you don't get back the full price of what you paid for the game. This allows you to play. And then they would say, okay, yeah, I am going to play this. I'll get the physical copy. But it also lets you play anywhere. And I think that's the other big thing that some people are missing out on, is that Xbox Game Pass is meant to be kind of a play anywhere, with the Game Pass Ultimate being able to be on your PC. And now they're putting with their Xbox X Cloud or Microsoft X Cloud, just putting Xbox in front of everyone to build brand loyalty and say, look, we're trying to meet gamers and consumers where they are. Instead of making them buy a console, we just want them to play our games. And so wherever they want to play that game, we want to give them the ability to do that. And I think that's where they're coming from with this. And I think Sony could benefit from that, but they also have benefited from having a much larger user base than Xbox has. So they don't feel the need to invest in that as a service as much. I don't know. It's a little weird. I think that they should, and I think that they will. It'll just be different because Sony is not Microsoft. They don't need the same trajectory and the same plan that Microsoft does. Like there potentially is a better way to do Xbox Game Pass, but right now it's the only thing doing what it does. So we see it as this kind of like great bastion within the world of especially console gaming, but gaming in general, of paying very little for this service. But are there better ways to do it? And maybe Sony will come out with something that is like, oh, this is a better way to do what Game Pass is doing. And who knows?
Yeah, whatever it is, they better come up with something about the backwards compatibility aspect, because I think they've been okay at the PS4, a lot of PS4 stuff being compatible with PS5, but Xbox is really nailing the legacy situation with 360, original Xbox stuff. So yeah. I think PlayStation needs to kind of nail that better, because they do have some PS2 games, some PS3 games on PS Now, but they need to add, like, they have so much for PS1, even third parties they could reach out to and potentially get on board, like they did for the PlayStation 1 Mini, for example. They could easily get a bunch of third parties to agree to just be like, hey, just send us your old stuff and we'll you can earn a bit of money here. It's going to be passive income because, let's be real, some people are going to subscribe to this for the nostalgia for a couple months. They're probably going to forget about it, and they're going to keep, having that subscription going for however long it happens to be on. I just think, like, if they have more appeal to it, I think it can be profitable. I in my opinion, because they have PS Plus already. I can only assume that PS Plus isn't a super profitable thing for them. Like, of course, the subscription aspect of it, a lot of people, if they play multiplayer games, they're gonna have to pay for that anyway. But the free games that they offer, surely that comes out of their pocket towards the developers and everything. So I don't see how doing PS Now, a better PS Now, would be such a huge issue. Whatever they do, they better make everything downloadable, because it's I don't want to play from the cloud. I want to be able to download the games in case I don't have an internet connection or whatever it is. Let me do that, please. That's all. But we have another story that's Nintendo related, right, Koga?
Yes, we do. So we have an article from Polygon and Nintendo. They have, oh my God, it completely. Nintendo, they have having the Big House 10 cancel their tournament over the netcode, unfortunately. All right, so the Big House is one of the premier events for the competitive Super Smash Bros. Scene, and unfortunately, they're going to have to cancel their tournament that they had scheduled for December after receiving a cease and desist demand from Nintendo of America. The Big House has held with no problem every year since 2011. Nintendo's issues this year is related to the Big House organization's plans with Slippy, an unapproved rollback netcode that makes Super Smash Bros. Melee playable online, a tool necessary for online events. The Big House, the 2020 tournament, was announced back in July that its in-person event would be canceled in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. The previous 4 tournaments were held at TCF Center in downtown Detroit. Nintendo has responded with the following statement. Nintendo appreciates and loves the dedication of the fighting game community has for the Super Smash Bros. Series. We have partnered with numerous Super Smash Bros. Tournaments in the past and have hosted our online and offline tournaments for the game, and we plan to continue to support in the future. Unfortunately, the upcoming Big House tournament announced plans to host an online tournament for Super Smash Bros. Melee that requires use of illegal copied versions of the game in conjunction with a mod called Slippy during an online event. Nintendo therefore contacted the tournament organizer to ask them to stop. They refused, leaving Nintendo no choice but to step in to protect its intellectual properties and brands. Nintendo cannot condone or allow piracy of its intellectual property. So how this is going is that they were using an emulator called Dolphin to play the game. And of course, with that being, that can be that people can use a pirated version of the game. You wouldn't know that unless they just downright told you. And Nintendo doesn't, want that at all. The thing is, Super Smash Bros. Melee has no way to play the game online. So the only way they could do it was them using rollback netcode that was done by modders, which is usually how that goes. And it allowed people during a pandemic to play with each other, and a way for competitive players to continue to keep that competitive drive, because locals are just non-existent right now. It's just there's no local tournaments happening, and that unfortunately got shut down, and the Smash Brothers community is not very about it. How do you feel about that, Ruby?
I understand both sides of the equation, because of course Nintendo being Nintendo and just in general being the owner of this content, basically, I can understand them not wanting for it to be used illegally. Although you could also argue the legality of it all, because as long as they're not distributing the ROMs, technically it's not illegal for them to do it, especially if they already own a copy of the game themselves. Nintendo has just always been very protective of their stuff. Like even recently, they have something with the DMCA stuff going on Twitch, for example. They have released like an update of their like terms of service or something like that for Animal Crossing, and how they don't want people to kind of like profit off of it, but it's unclear because they still technically allow live streams of it. So people are just wondering if they can't like do merch related to Animal Crossing, or what Nintendo is gonna do really, if they're gonna not allow people to run ads on their streams, if they're not gonna allow people to have subscriptions or whatever it might be. So I can understand Nintendo just trying to put out this message of like, hey, we don't endorse this event because they're doing it through software that is not ours. But at the same time, it's like, it's not like they're like pirating the latest Smash Bros, right? It's not like people like, it's not gonna affect you monetarily directly right now, because if you get a physical copy of Melee right now, you're just gonna benefit whatever reseller is selling it. So it just seems like it could have been a thing that Nintendo could like look to and just be like, we don't approve of this, but let's just let them live their life. We have better things to do with our time, kind of thing. But I don't know. What do you think, GM?
Sorry, my mute button wouldn't work. So yeah, it's a little weird, but the thing is that it's not surprising. This is Nintendo. This is what they do. And normally I'd be like, well, why are they doing this? But this is like right up Nintendo's alley. They never really do anything different. But the idea that it's like, this is a tournament that you've supported in the past. You already know that they're not doing anything. Typically, they don't do anything illegally. They hold it in person. Like, you could work with them to either work something out and try and figure out how they can host this situation online. But turning on one of the people that you've supported in the past is such a weird way to go about this, I think. And I think that's the thing that's the most concerning, is that about this whole situation, right? Because it shows that as much as Nintendo has, quote unquote, turned over a new leaf when it comes to streaming of games and dealing with some of these things, they're also willing to pull the rug from under you when they're like, well, this thing slightly goes against what we like, so we're just gonna kind of change the way we're dealing with it. And it doesn't sit right with me, and it really, really kind of bothers me. Like, and this is the thing, I don't have as much investment in it because I don't play Smash a lot. It's not a game that I play a ton of, but there is such a avid fan base for this game, especially Melee, and for you to do this it's just kind of mind-boggling. Like, in this day and age, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's not a situation where people are trying to be malicious. It's solely a way for people to bring people together in a way that they enjoy, and to continue something that people were looking forward to that they had to then cancel because of the fact that the world has changed for the time being. And you just kind of saying, well, boo hoo, you're not doing it the way we wanted you to do it, so we can't really, do anything about that. What do you think, Shalora? How do you feel about it?
I feel like it's just kind of like unnecessary. It's like the same as like doing like any kind of tournament. But I know that Nintendo is sort of like the Disney of video games. Like, they're like, oh, you touched this one game, how dare you? Don't do that. Don't touch my thing. Don't touch my things. So I think that they're just throwing a little tantrum. It's kind of ridiculous that they spend so much time looking for things that people are doing rather than looking at themselves and working on their own projects. I do think that it's especially unnecessary this year and in this situation, because a lot of people don't have a lot of choices in terms of what they can do, and they can play and do this tournament online. I think that it's something that a lot of people, specifically gamers, look forward to, especially. But like I know that there's a lot of gamers out there that don't necessarily have as much human contact as other people. The same with like conventions and things like that. Like a lot of people don't talk to people in real life until they go to conventions, when they go once or twice a year, and it's something that they look forward to. So it can be really detrimental to people, and I just think it's really unnecessary for Nintendo to bother with it. You know, maybe they should have looked at it and said, hey, maybe instead of banning this tournament, we should re-release Melee on the Switch or something like that. I don't know. What do you think, Koka?
Honestly, if they were to re-release it, the problem is that Smash Ultimate has bad netcode too. So if they put it on the Switch, that would also have bad netcode. The netcode that they would put on the Switch would be even worse than the one you can play on an emulator, which is kind of a problem. It would be nice if they were to do that, okay, make a version of it for them, and maybe the people who made Slippy, which is what they use for the netcode, I don't know, hire them or something, because clearly this game has been out for like 19 years now. It's a long time, and this has a very dedicated fan base, and they clearly want to keep playing this game. I don't know, help them out, or like leave them alone. One of the two.
Right. Yeah, it's disappointing but not surprising, I would say. And like I definitely do consider myself like a Nintendo stan, but even I can be like, okay, Nintendo, is it really that deep, you know? Like that's basically just my thoughts on it. But I do see both sides. So it's a difficult situation, but I feel like this year is different circumstances. Like it's a whole different animal, you know? That's just kind of my thoughts on it. But if we want to change gears for a second and talk about a good fun thing that Nintendo is doing, we have a little write-up from Nintendo.com about the new Animal Crossing update. So I'll go ahead and read that for y'all now. On November 19th, a free update arrived for Animal Crossing New Horizons, including holiday events and enhancements, giving you opportunities to connect with friends and family and enjoy island life together with your Animal Crossing New Horizons residents. If you're looking to spend quality holiday time with friends and family virtually, special occasions such as Turkey Day on November 26th and Toy Day on December 24th will be added with the new update, delivering holiday events that can be experienced with others. It's a great time of year to welcome visitors over and show off your island while enjoying each other's company. The winter update also brings new reactions and hairstyles to Animal Crossing New Horizons, an upgrade option for expanded in-game home item storage, and save data transfer capabilities. The next update will be arriving in late January. Please look forward to more information in the coming months. All right. So, y'all know I'm a big Animal Crossing player. Okay. The thing that I find the like best and like funniest about the update is like nobody's talking about Turkey Day or Toy Day. Everybody's talking about you can sit now. You can just plop your little butt down on the island and you can just sit anywhere. And I am living for that. Everybody's just like, oh, you can sit. And I am just like living and loving it. So Jam, have you played the new update yet? Because I know you're also an Animal Crossing person. What do you think?
I have not played it yet, but I am going to when we're done. I am so excited to be able to sit anywhere. It's so ridiculous.
Literally the second I downloaded the update, I was just like, I plopped my little butt down under a tree and I was just like, yes.
Yeah, I like set it to download yesterday and was like, okay, I need to, and I'm gonna play it tomorrow. I just love like the little quality of life things that when they add those in, it's like, yeah, they have all these bigger things that I'm like excited about, but then it's like little things when they were like, oh, you can now swim. Like I remember when there was water in the game and I was like, when can I swim? And then they were like, oh, you can swim. And I was like, that's all I want to do. And then I had to learn how to dive off. I was like, okay, well, how do I dive? How do I do a flip into the water? Not the fact that I can go find Pascal. I just want to be able to flip off the dock into the water. I don't need to search it. And that's all I want to do. And now I want to just be able to sit on the ground wherever I want. Just plop down. And that's it. So I'm excited about it. But I like you spin like love this game. Chalora, I know, played a lot as well in the beginning. Because we used to like go from island to island together and catch bugs and do all those types of things. And so I played so many hours of that game when it came out, and it just I'm excited to do that. Like all the other stuff, the Turkey Day, Toy Day, whatever. That's what I'm excited about, is being able to sit on the island anywhere, which is ridiculous, but it's how excited I am.
It's very on brand for Animal Crossing. I feel like Animal Crossing fans get really excited about like really small things. Like I remember when like before New Horizons even came out, I remember like a moment specifically where we found out there were going to be stairs in the game, and just like everybody on Twitter pooped their pants. Like, oh my God, stairs!
Yeah, it really makes it. It really kind of makes this sense. But I love it. I love it. Just the little things. How do you feel about it, Chalora? Have you done anything with the update?
I haven't touched Animal Crossing since May.
That's fair. There are a lot of other games that have come out since then.
I've been super busy. I think it's been like a bit of a whirlwind for me personally, just like, oh, here's this thing and you can do this and you can do that. It's just been like, oh, now I got all these things I gotta do. So now I don't have time to make wicker baskets and then recolor them on Animal Crossing and collect apples.
Yeah.
Catch bugs. So, which I love doing. It's just like, I don't know, my Switch is sitting over there being dusty. But I think that I don't know, I'm just glad that they kind of stayed true to what they said they were going to do, and just updating these, bringing these updates like almost once every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible, and I hope that they continue to do that. I think that it's definitely a proponent of people using their subscription service for like the online gaming. I think without Animal Crossing, it would definitely take a big hit. I think if they keep up this pattern of making stuff, it'll be great.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Accurate, because there is absolutely no way I would be paying for Nintendo Online on 2 accounts unless it was Animal Crossing. There is no way.
Oh, that's so true. That's
Yeah.
so
it's really
true.
impressive though. Like they keep updating the game, and it makes sense for them to keep doing it, because I feel like if they didn't, people would be like, well, from my understanding, it's like people, when they saw the baseline game, there was this expectation of like, okay, this is okay, but we're meant to build upon this, right? Like this is not it. Like the whole selling point was that like the game is gonna definitely not be like the previous title. It's gonna be, we're gonna start with some simple stuff and we're gonna add upon it. So I like that they're following through with it, and it makes perfect sense. Animal Crossing is like one of the biggest games of the year. And it had the magical timing of everybody getting quarantined and the game literally coming out that same week. So that was, helpful for them. But I think the game would have been a success either way, because the Animal Crossing fandom is so like passionate about it. Like every time I had no idea Animal Crossing had this huge of a fan base until I started paying more attention to like Nintendo Directs and stuff like that. And I would always see a bunch of people being like, "Oh my god, Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing," and I'll be like, "Y'all, they're not gonna talk about Animal Crossing. What are y'all thinking?" And then when like this game was announced and it came out and everything, people just lost their minds. So
Yep.
it's really cute. I really appreciate it. Simulation games like that are really not my like go-to usually, but Animal Crossing definitely has had me like tempted a few times. Are you into the Animal Crossing vibes, Koga?
No, I've never really been into Animal Crossing. I don't think it's like bad or anything. It's just never really been my thing. But maybe one day I'll give it a try. But it's like I already have so much stuff to play, so I would just fall behind. But I do think that it's good that they're constantly updating the game for the people who do want to keep playing, and that's something that I do like about the current state of at least of gaming with the internet being as much of a thing is that games that come out that people really enjoy, they can keep getting updated and made better, and keep the online community happy. So
Agreed.
Love
I would
that.
agree with that.
Yeah. And speaking of the online community, the Game Awards are happening, right, Chalora?
Animal Crossing might not have crossed Coco's mind, but something that might cross your mind is the Game
Yes.
Award nominees. Even though they'll be airing in on December 10th, the Game Awards, the nominee list has been released, and we're going to be discussing each gaming category, which you can play along with us by going to https://thegameawards.com/nominees and cast your votes, your bodies. So the first one we have here is the best debut game. So for the best debut game created by a new independent studio. I don't even think I've heard any of these games besides Phasmophobia. But there's a game called Carrion, Mortal Shell, Raji, An Ancient Epic, Roki, and Phasmophobia.
Hmm.
Yeah,
What are we thinking, y'all?
personally, I've never played any of these games, but the one that that kind of got my attention the most, and the one that I would consider playing in the future, is probably Raji. I've heard good things about it, and I would be interested in trying that out, and it looks gorgeous. That's my thoughts.
Same here with I personally I haven't played either of the games. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Phasmophobia won just out of the sheer popularity of that game. But Raji, An Ancient Epic, was really interesting to me when it got unveiled during an indie showcase for Nintendo, actually. And seeing that, for people who don't know, it's basically they have this female, I think Indian character, and also the developer or the lead of the studio is also an Indian woman, and she the game basically resembles like Prince of Persia with like platforming puzzle elements to it. So and it has a lot of cultural bridges as well, like references and stuff like that. So I do think that I would personally nominate that one as my personal winner. But again, I haven't played or experienced any of these, and I wouldn't be surprised if Phasmophobia took this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at Raji right now on Steam. Which by the way is $24.99. But it looks really cool.
Yeah. Have you played any of these, Koga?
The only thing that I've played is Mortal Shell demo. That's it. The rest of them I have not played. So the one I hear most people talk about is Phasmophobia. So I can definitely see that one winning, but I have no experience with the game.
Yeah. What was your experience like with Mortal Shell? I know nothing about the game, so can you tell us just a little
Uh,
bit about it and what you liked or didn't like about it?
it's kind of like Dark Souls, it's like that more so. So if you like Dark Souls, you'll like that. It's um, I don't know the story. I just know like you could play as a character and you could go into like some other body or something along those lines, and you can get knocked out of the body, and you got to try to get back in that body before you get clobbered again. But you
Hmm.
can also it also gives you like some kind of like defensive options. So like for example, you can turn rocks like rock solid and then counter and then hit. But like I haven't played like the full game to see how things change. But it seems like if you're a person who likes Dark Souls and things like that, you probably like this one. And it's I think it's but like 30, maybe 30, $40, I think.
Hmm.
So I did enjoy
Interesting.
the demo, but it's just that I already know that I'm not going to have the time to play it. Like I still have to go through Dark Souls Remastered, and then 2, and then 3, and then Sekiro. I don't have time for all this.
Too many games.
Too many games, not enough time.
Many
Too much
games.
So
work.
many games. There's
Too
just
many games. Too many
so
games.
many. Yeah,
Yeah.
those mechanics sound pretty interesting. I don't know if I would necessarily play it, but like that sounds like an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The next category is Best Multiplayer for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. So there's the one and only Animal Crossing New Horizons. That's a game I've never heard of. I don't know what it is. I wonder if there's animals in it. I'm not quite sure. There's Among Us, Call of Duty Warzone, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, and Valorant. Personally, I think Animal Crossing would probably beat out all these games just because it's like been a consistent. It's been out longer than Among Us and been like more largely talked about. Even freaking Joe Biden and stuff play that game and do events with it. So I think that would
Yeah.
probably take the cake.
Yeah, I feel like Animal Crossing is gonna like sweep every category that it's in. If I'm being honest, because like the cultural impact of that game coming out at the time that it did was just like so much more like significant. It really feels like it was like a huge cultural moment for gaming, even outside of people who normally game. So
Yeah.
I definitely see Animal Crossing taking away a lot of these categories. Um,
Yeah.
However, I don't necessarily know if it's like the best. If I'm thinking about multiplayer games, I don't know if I'm necessarily thinking about Animal Crossing. What do y'all think?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, because like obviously with Animal Crossing, we can include element of like a multiplayer experience, of like visiting your friends' islands and stuff like that. But I would
Yeah.
personally say that if you asked me this towards the beginning of the year, I would be like Fall Guys, duh. But I think Among Us actually has a really good shot at this one. One, because I feel like people who may vote for this, there's a little bit of politics associated with it, I would assume. So people, I feel like even for themselves or even the audience voting, I feel like they would be like, oh, Animal Crossing, there's other categories for it, we can vote for something else in this one because Animal Crossing is nominated for a lot of other categories. So I could easily see people wanting to root for an underdog like Among Us, who literally has been out for like a year or two or something, and then it made a huge resurgence with obviously the pandemic and everybody playing it, like Chalora said. So I could easily see Among Us kind of take this, and I think it would be really nice for an indie developed game to get that recognition outside of an indie specific category. So I'm personally rooting for Among Us. I've had a great time watching chaotic stuff go down while watching Among Us stream. So I wouldn't be personally offended if that won this category. What do you think, Jam?
I mentioned this to Spin. I before I don't know how much I feel that I would really want Among Us to win, and that I just don't. It's just a game that I guess I don't identify with as much. I don't have as much fun playing the game as I kind of, I guess, felt that I would, because it is very much like some other games that I had played in the past that I was just like, okay, this is fun, but it doesn't make me want to go back to play it. And the thing, but I also can agree that like Animal Crossing is a little weird and fitting in this category, because I don't feel like it's a multiplayer experience and not really a multiplayer game. It's not a game that you have to do with, like, or that you play with other people. You don't win Animal Crossing, right? You go and you fish on an island with your friend, or run around and do chop down trees, or whatever the case may be. But I could see Among Us winning. I feel like, Fall Guys, at one point I would have said that, but I feel like they haven't done enough to keep people coming back to the game. And I think that's the problem Fall Guys is going to have. Whereas Among Us, people still play that game like daily, weekly. And I think it's because it lends itself to the chaotic nature of it, and what people do with it. And they've kind of altered the gameplay by saying, oh, we can play hide and seek with this game, or we can do different things that Fall Guys is just the same over and over again. And I think that will take away from that. I haven't played Valorant, but everyone I know who plays it really likes it. So that could be a contender, but I really see, and Call of Duty, I don't do Call of Duty. That's
we don't do Call of Duty.
I don't do Call of Duty. That's as we like to say, straight culture. But I think it's a toss up between Animal Crossing and Among Us, because I think Animal Crossing really did change the way that people gamed a lot. I think people did start doing a lot more together with Animal Crossing, so I think that could be a reason that it could win. And I think it got a lot of people into Animal Crossing that weren't into it. I know people who said they never thought they would like Animal Crossing, and they played this one and they loved it. So who knows? It's a toss up between Animal Crossing and Among Us for me, but I don't know. What do you think, Chalora? So I guess you said that Animal Crossing would.
Yeah, I mean, I've played all these games besides Call of Duty, obviously.
Right.
The little bit that I did play of Valorant was incredibly smooth. For me personally, I think my only issue with the game was like the matchmaking, because I am not a FPS. I mean, like, I've played Overwatch and stuff, but like I think that Valorant has more of the Call of Duty or Gears of War play style in terms of shooters. So I just wasn't accustomed to it. Unfortunately, just didn't line up for me. I would go back and try it again though, which is something I think is to credit that game. But I think Among Us and Fall Guys kind of fails in terms of like connectivity. Like they've both kind of had issues with hackers and or connectivity issues, like server issues. And like, I don't know, the graphics aren't amazing in terms of like, but I think that the category mainly goes towards multiplayer, and that's it. So I don't know. For me, it's going to be a good toss up between all of them. Koga, what do you think?
Let's see. The only ones I've actually played on this list is actually Among Us and Call of Duty Warzone. Among Us would be, for me, would be the better one. I've played it a few times and playing it with friends is so much fun. It makes me wonder, like, how trustworthy some of them are, because some of them are really good at lying.
Oops.
Maybe
yeah, I'm be a friendship ender.
Yeah, so it is a lot of fun to play. Call of Duty Warzone, I mean, I guess I give it a plus for being cross-play and free to play, and you can play on a controller with everybody. But I mean, I guess if you like, what was it? What's Battle Royale? That is. I mean, I'll give it, perks for that, but it's not something that I would consider like the best multiplayer, because you level up slower because you're not playing the other multiplayer games. So weapon wise, you're going to be behind. But again, you don't have to pay for it. But Among Us is pretty cheap, and it's a lot of fun when you play it with friends. Now, random players, I can't get with that. They break the rules. They be talking. Wow, you're supposed to be quiet. So playing with friends is like the best.
And to also give Valorant props, they also have a really cool feature where you can ping stuff in the map or as you play the game. So that takes away the element of like being forced into a voice chat with strangers if you happen to be playing with strangers. So I really, really like that feature. I think a lot of games should take notes from that as well, because you can get competitive with Valorant and still get a good experience by like pinging things and being like, hey, here's some ammo, here's a weapon, and the enemy is over there, and just like pinging that, and you can just hear the cues from your character, and you don't have to like hop on voice chat and have someone call you the F word, especially as like queer people here. Safety in online experiences is really important. So I will say, when it comes to that, I feel like Animal Crossing and Valorant are the safer options because you don't really have like required voice chat. Fall Guys too, actually, especially now because on Steam they removed the username, so you just see Fall Guy 1, Fall Guy 2, whatever. So I like that aspect about multiplayer games and how they're not forcing you into a potentially like harassment heavy environment kind of thing. We have as well best sports and racing category.
What's the
So
sport?
I know I saw it on the list and I was like, let me just copy and paste this into the document because I have no idea what this is. So, maybe someone out there will know. But these are for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing games. So we have Dirt 5, F1, Formula 1, I guess, 2020, FIFA 21, NBA 2K21, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. I don't really have any interest in any of these games, to be completely honest. First, because I'm not a competitive person by nature, so just, sports tend to be pretty competitive. I will say, if we're gonna judge it off of relevancy and cultural kind of, like the social media aspect of it, I think Tony Hawk's has a better chance of winning this one because this is for people who don't know, this is basically a remake of the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. So I think from that aspect, I can see how the nostalgia of it and how they kind of improved upon the originals are. They brought the best of the elements that were in the originals into this one. I haven't played any of them, so I can't say for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Hawk's won this category just because it's so vastly different from the others. So yeah, do y'all have any thoughts on sports?
Yeah, I definitely think that Tony Hawk Pro Skater has a good shot at winning this. One, because of that nostalgia, and like two, because it is a remake and in like a time where everybody's kind of looking back at 90s nostalgia specifically. Well, I haven't played any of the games that are nominated. I did play the original Tony Hawk Skater 1 and 2, and I remember really loving those as a kid. So I guess like the one that I would be most interested in would be the remake of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Chiller, have you played any of these games? Do you have any opinions on them?
I don't know what kind of game Dirt 5 is. I don't
I'm gonna
know.
assume dirt bike racing.
I don't want to assume anything, but I don't. Dirt.
There's 5.
Shalora said it's in the name. It's in the name.
And there's 5 of them, apparently. F1 2020, but the other games are like, the other 2 games on there are 2021. Mm-hmm. So they're a little behind on their numbering. So they're probably going to lose points for that. And I don't know what sport F is. So Yeah, and
Oh my
there's
gosh, Laura, I love you.
FIFA.
This is the commentary that we need. Yes.
I think FIFA is soccer, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I still don't know what the name is. Is it for football?
Yes.
Yeah. So football is fun and 21. Cool. Is that what that stands for?
You got
Something
it.
like
You got
FIFA
it. You got
is
one.
an international soccer/football organization, and they have like their own
Oh.
cups and all of that stuff. So
They got cups?
they do. Turns out
They
maybe
got
there's a little bit
cups,
of
girl.
drama in there, huh?
I mean, sometimes I go to my friend's house, they don't got cups. You gotta drink from like little bowls and
Right.
stuff.
Oh, they have those big ones, girly. You can get like an entire team to drink off of that. I guess before Corona times, like don't share
Cups.
cups. Don't share cups in
In
2020.
Yeah. But I know NBA is basketball.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I love that we're learning about sports today. By the way, Dirt 5 is like one of those like rally racing stuff. It's like cars in the dirt and
No,
they're
it's
doing
just
all
dirt.
of that. So it's
Just dirt.
yeah, it's a moment.
Well, it's like Pokemon, right? Like you've got dirt, and then sometimes you get the variation, and it's called sand.
Collect all the different kinds of dirt.
I can't wait for Mud 10.
It's so brave, man.
It's gonna be
It's
great.
a real improvement over Mud 9. The Mud graphics just leap off the screen.
I love that. Listen.
I mean,
This is what happens when you get
But, like,
five
every-
queer people on talking about sports.
no shade, but like every time I've seen a FIFA or an NBA game or whatever sports game, they hype the crap out of them. And it's just like, it looks identical, just with slightly better graphics than the one before.
Yeah, literally.
So, and like,
That's it.
they change the rosters and stuff, and it's like,
That's the tweet.
this is why only the fans of the actual real life sports typically play the games. But I could see,
Yeah.
like, they're just the way that there are nerds of, comics or other recreational things, there can be nerds for sports too. Like, I think if there was maybe a swimming or water polo game or tennis, I like tennis, or volleyball, you can play those games too. But none of those are on this list, so I got nothing. Tony Hawk's a pretty cool guy, as far as I know. I think he's pretty accepting of the LGBTQIA plus, so he gets points from me, and that's all I got.
There you go. Koga, have you played any of these? Are you the one out of 5 that does play sports games and actually has an opinion on any of them?
Not these kind of sport games. No, not really. So I played Tony Hawk on 1 and 2, and I played like some of the older ones, like back in the day when I was a little one. This one, if you like the older ones, could definitely recommend this one. It's very fun to play. It looks nice, and it really feels like this is what they should have been doing instead of when we got 5. So I don't know what happened there. Dirt 5, that's a racing game. I do like some racing games, not as much simulators. I have been a little bit interested in it, but it costs money, so I don't have it yet. As for FIFA, F1 and NBA, absolutely not. Like, I don't care for like these types of sport games. Like, I'm more of a person who's like into NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, to where it's just obnoxious, off the wall fun. Like, you can just push people and it's just definitely okay. But not this stuff. But what I think would probably win, I wouldn't be surprised if it's NBA 2K21, because people keep buying it every year. They don't I don't know what's even different from last year. Like last Chalora said, it looks the same, and they updated the roster. They could have probably just released DLC for it, but I mean, why do that if people keep buying it every year? But I know some people who play it, and I guess they do well in sales. So I could definitely see that being the game that wins. But for me, it would be Tony Hawk.
There you go. We have our best sim/strategy game. Best game focused on real time or turn based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of or platform. So we have Crusader Kings 3, we have Desperados 3, we have Gears Tactics, we have Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we have XCOM Chimera Squad. Like I said earlier, simulation games are usually not my go-to. I have played an XCOM game before. It's quite similar to like a strategy RPG game in that sense. Like it's literally like turn-based. You select your characters and you place them on the field. Each of them have different weapons that they kind of specialize in. There's usually skill trees and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if XCOM won this one because I do think that that series has a huge fan base behind it. But to be fair, most of these do. I know Microsoft Flight Simulator also like was a huge deal on socials and on Twitch and all that stuff. So, what do y'all think? What do you think, Chalora?
I'm just surprised that there isn't a Sims game on here. But I don't think any Sims games came out this year.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know if an expansion pack would count. Yeah.
I've played Crusader Kings 3, and it doesn't function at the best of times. So I don't know about that game. Desperados 3 I have not played. Gears Tactics haven't played. Microsoft Flight Simulator, I hear a lot of interesting things about that game, but I feel like it's more of a meme than people taking it seriously. But I've seen some people play that really like hardcore. I don't know. I guess sim games. I don't know why they would put sim and strategy games together. I think those are two very different things.
Yeah, that's a weird combo to me.
Yeah, because like strategy could be like Fire Emblem, but it's not on there. Unless Fire Emblem came out last year. I think it came out last year.
Yeah, it was the year before. Yeah, it was nominated last year for the Game Awards.
I hope it didn't win, but
we have opinions about last year's Game Awards too, honey. Listen.
Chalora said, "Not today."
So
Not today.
with these, I only know Crusader Kings and Microsoft Flight Simulators, but I hope that neither of them win. I don't think either of them look any good to me. So even in terms of like simulation, I guess maybe Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I don't know. It just looks really dull and boring.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like I haven't played Crusader Kings 3. I've seen some gameplay of it, but I haven't played it, so I don't know a ton about it. I've played Gears Tactics. I enjoyed it for the most part. I like the Gears series of games. Microsoft Flight Simulator, I've seen a lot about it. It seems very intense and stressful, but also like it's just a meme at this point because people like I don't understand why it's such a meme, but it is. Yeah, I guess because people crash all the time. They can't actually fly the planes very well. Apparently, it's very difficult to fly a plane.
Turns out piloting not an easy task.
Piloting.
I also
easy.
think it's a meme because they had some issues with the mapping of it. Like I think there were some glitches where like certain areas in the game turned into like huge like voids and like just random like I guess that like the altitudes and all that stuff. I feel like some people screwed up on the inputs in the maps that they sourced from. So there was like a whole thing about someone who was like personally responsible for it, and they were like, "Oh, I was just kind of like doing some like I was bored doing some college work, and turns out my work got used for from Microsoft for this game, and that's why there was like a huge like hole on the ground at some point, and like it was a whole thing.
Not this.
And they were like,
Not this.
Well,
Not this.
take your college work
Well,
seriously,
I would have to-
y'all. You never know.
Apparently. For me, I guess I would have to say it's probably Gears Tactics, mainly just because I am a fan of the Gears series of games, especially the earlier ones. The real time kind of like strategy-ish game style play I do like. So that would have to be my pick because I did kind of enjoy Gears Tactics, and then XCOM. I've played a few of them. I don't really know. I don't think I've played this one, so I wouldn't have much of an opinion. But I'm sure it's decently good. They keep making XCOM games, so they can't be that bad, right?
yeah, this is
What about you, Spin? Do you?
one of the few categories where I'm just like, I have zero opinions. I've never played any of these games, but I'm kind of with Ruby. I can see XCOM winning just because of the fan base behind it. That's pretty much all my opinions.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, with that, I guess we have our next category, which is Best Family Game, which would be for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. And within this category, we have Animal Crossing: New Horizons, Crash Bandicoot 4, Fall Guys, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Minecraft Dungeons, and Paper Mario: The Origami King. I have played.
Play all these games irrespective of gender. That's good to know.
Did I say gender? Jesus.
I
thought I said genre. Jesus.
You did.
Look at me.
You did. Yeah.
But I thought
Chalora
it
just
said
noticed that she did it.
What?
You did say it correctly. I thought, but I was reading it in my head, and I thought it said gender.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. We love that.
I was like, oh my god, what did I do?
You're doing amazing. You're doing amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I
So
can see
this
Animal
is-
Crossing getting this one, right?
Yeah, I feel like Animal Crossing is a good one for this. I haven't played Crash 4, even though I think that like I've watched Spin play it and we've had our commentary on that game. And that looks like a very good game. But I feel like Animal Crossing is the one that kind of is for all play levels for people. You know, you can play at any level of gaming. If you're a child who doesn't really have much experience with gaming, or an older person who's getting into a game because, I want to play with my grandkids kind of situation, like anyone can get into that game. And I think that's the thing to me that makes it the most approachable. Minecraft Dungeons, I really like, but I just feel like it's probably not that. Paper Mario Origami King. The reason I feel that that's weird is it's very, when I think of family game, I think it's something that people would kind of sort of play together. And Paper Mario Origami King feels very single story game, even though it is a family friendly game. So I would probably go with Animal Crossing as the winner, in my opinion. But what do you think, Koga?
I have not played not one of these games here. So
How dare?
Well, I mean, some of these I don't have a Switch currently, and look at how many of these are on Nintendo. So that just acts as quite a few of them there. Crash Bandicoot 4 didn't come out on PC, so acts there. You have Mario Kart Live. I have 2 cats. That's not a good idea. Minecraft Dungeons. I just never got around. And then Fall Guys, that came out at a time when I was moving to where I'm at now, and our lease expired on other buildings. So by the time I was thinking about getting it, I was playing something else. So sorry. Not really, but I mean, I just never played them.
No worries. No worries.
Valid.
Yeah, I mostly think like of these games, the ones that I can like see like anyone in a family being able to play it one, and like families playing it together, would definitely be Animal Crossing and Mario Kart Home Circuit. But I don't like who bought Mario Kart Home Circuit is the thing. Like I haven't seen anybody talking about it, you know.
I didn't
So I
even
feel
know
like
there
Animal
was one.
Crossing. Yeah, it's the one with the AR track with the little cars.
Oh.
Yeah.
Um,
Or you create a track and then you drive the car through it.
It was incredible.
was it?
Yeah, they made a little track around their streaming room, and both their cats were in it. So like the car would run into the cats, and it was hilarious to watch on stream.
Yeah, I think Animal Crossing is taking this one away. No doubt. Yeah, Ruby, what do you think?
Yeah, as someone who also, well, the only game I played here was Fall Guys, and I could definitely, from the griefing that happens on there, I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of kids played it, just messing with you, trying to ruin your life, thinking it's funny to stand on the exit, trying to push you off. But I will say, Animal Crossing just has the wholesome vibes that I think when you just, even without reading the description for the category, if you just read best family, immediately in my mind, I'm like, Animal Crossing, duh. So I think even people who haven't played these games, I can see them easily voting for Animal Crossing just out of that, the wholesomeness around it and how literally anybody can play the game. And it's really cute too, so I can see it having that appeal on there as well. I would like to say last year the best family category felt like they were just like scrapping for stuff, and I'm glad that this year it seems as though there's a little bit more content there.
A lot of strong contenders.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
I
agree.
feel like most you guys' thoughts on these are pretty correct. Like Animal Crossing, you can play with multiple switches or the same switch. All your entire family can play at basically almost the same time. I remember that was like a big feature that they did. Crash Bandicoot can be really hard for young and older people or inexperienced people. So I feel like that just doesn't really work for a family game. Fall Guys, I don't know how much that works all at one time. Like I feel
Yeah,
like
each have to have their own
yeah,
system to play it on.
exactly. If you like, even if you played it all on one system somehow or whatever, locally, you'd have to split the screen into four. Like that's too much. So I think that just knocks it out as well. Mario Kart Live like literally just came out, I think. I don't know why it's there. I think that the concept of the game is really cute. I have seen it, but I just don't think. I don't know. I've played Mario Kart just in general with family, and it's just like they don't want to play. But I feel like specifically with Mario Kart Live, like the point of it is that you have your circuit that you make in your house, and then you have like the little buggy car. So you'd have to get multiple buggy cars, I'm assuming, for that to work in a family setting, and that's too much. What kind of rich family has room in their house to make an entire track that fits 4 buggies? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm sure the buggies and the setup is really expensive if you want to get extra. Minecraft
And they only
Dungeon.
have Mario and Luigi, I should say, by the
Oh,
way.
it's only 2-player.
I don't. Maybe you can have like multiple people, but you're just gonna have to be Mario and Luigi. Like they don't have
Mario.
Peach.
Oh.
They don't have any of the other characters, which makes sense. Like I feel like the average person is not gonna get this anyway. So
I
It
didn't
sounds like
know.
kind of homophobic that they don't have Peach though.
Yeah. Or Toad.
Those are like the two redacted choices.
Or Toadette. or Yoshi.
Toadette. Yeah, the million of other characters that people also love from the franchise.
Yeah. Minecraft Dungeons I didn't know was multiplayer. I thought it was only single player. But again, you'd probably need either a split screen, which is probably only 2-player on Xbox, which is like no fun. Everybody hates split screen, I think.
Yeah, split screen is not good.
Yeah. Paper Mario, I love Paper Mario, but it's also a 1-player game. I could see like everybody sitting in front of the TV enjoying it because it is visually pleasing, but I would not say that it's a family game in any sense. I do think that it's enjoyable for different levels of experience as well as age, but I don't think that it's a family game. So overall, because of all these things, Animal Crossing should win this category.
Agreed.
I don't think we're fighting
agreed.
over who's going to win that category, but who is fighting is the best fighting category. For the best game design, primarily around head-to-head combat, which is just two people headbutting each other only. No punching, no kicking, no Hadokens. Only games that have head-to-head specifically. No, I'm just kidding. It's all fighting games. We have Grand Blue Fantasy versus Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Street Fighter V Champion Edition, One Punch Man, and a hero nobody knows, a game nobody knows. Under Night in Birth EXE Late, which is also never heard of, from a company called French Bread. Pain.
Now we're
I
hungry.
love that name.
French Bread. Yes,
people playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, so I'm just gonna give it to those ones. But what do you guys think? Who wants to steal this?
I legit haven't really played any of these. I'm surprised Street Fighter somehow made it here with like a new edition out of nowhere. Same with Mortal Kombat. I feel like those two games have been around for such a long time that I'm like, oh, they have a new version, a new edition. Great. I don't really have many opinions because I didn't really grow up with any of these franchises. I adore One Punch Man, the anime, but I am tired of anime video games that are just fighting games, and I wish that more anime adaptations were more of like an interesting action adventure situation or literally any other video game genre other than fighting. So I kind of don't want to vote for that one just because of that petty reason. And yeah, I don't really have any thoughts. No thoughts, head empty. What do you think, Jam?
I am going to have to go with, for me, it's probably going to be Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. I really like the recent entries into the Mortal Kombat series. I think they are well done. They're visually pleasing. The fights are satisfying in terms of if you're into fighting style games. I haven't played the Street Fighter Champion Edition. I am in the same boat when it comes to One Punch Man. Like, give me an anime game that is an action adventure. I don't need another anime fighting game. And then I don't think I've never heard of Under Night in Birth EXE Late. So can't give you an opinion there. And Grand Blue, never played it, heard of it, never played it. So my vote is Mortal Kombat 11. But that's mainly nostalgia of playing the Mortal Kombat series, and I just think that they have revamped the gameplay for that series in a way that is beneficial and has moved it forward past what it was when it kind of started to go downhill for a while there, and they brought it back with 10, and I think went even better with 11 and 11 Ultimate. What do you think, Koga? I know you play probably more fighting games than some other people here. So
Yes. So for me, as I said when we spoke earlier, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate wins for me by default because every other fighting game on this list online netcode is absolute garbage. So that's an automatic win there. But I mean, if we just go away from that, Mortal Kombat 11 wins it for me because for the past few games, like as Jan was saying, they've done very well. But for this one particularly, they do have towers that constantly change. So there's multiple things you can unlock. Some of the towers you can do co-op with people, which if they're good, it's fun. If they're not, have mercy. There is a crypt area that you get to explore to unlock other things as well. And then the online is also very good. The story is actually good too. Like you can just go on YouTube and watch it like it's a movie. And they released the DLC earlier this year that has like an aftermath of that story. So it's done pretty good. Street Fighter 5. Okay, so one thing I do want to say about this list is that almost all of these games originally came out like years ago. And it's like, I guess if you get an update, then that counts as this year, I suppose. Because Street Fighter 5 originally came out like February 2016. And it started off very rocky. If you take offline away from it, at where it stands right now, it is pretty good. Has quite a lot of characters and modes for people who may not want to go online. And the gameplay is fun. It really just depends on how you feel about it. Each Street Fighter main series game plays completely different than the previous one. So it's pretty good in that regard. One Punch Man, I haven't played it. I'm aware of what Grand Blue Fantasy is, and the same with Under Night. But unfortunately, those two games came out after Soul Calibur and Smash Brothers. And what I mean by that is that after those two games, I said I'm no longer paying full price for games that have bad netcode ever again. And unfortunately, because of that, I've never played them. But Mortal Kombat 11 would win for me. But because of Street Fighter and its name and how its legacy, I can see that winning too. So it's going to be probably between Mortal Kombat 11 and Street Fighter 5.
I would agree with that. I think it's going to be between those two.
Yeah, this is another one that I have zero opinions on.
Listen, it happens. Not every person plays every type of video game, and I think it's
Right.
okay for us to admit that like even though we have a gaming podcast, that not all of us are gonna be super into every genre, every game. Like there's so many experiences out there that it's totally fine for us to not experience them. But a category that I love is role playing, and our next category is best role playing for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experience. So we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. All of these games I want to play. Some of these games I have played, like Wasteland 3 and Genshin Impact. So I don't think that it's gonna be. This one is not gonna be a super obvious one because obviously Final Fantasy VII Remake is a huge contender just in general this year, and it was critically acclaimed. It was very successful. Genshin Impact, huge social media, Twitch, everywhere. People love this game, especially being a free game. The game just kind of took over. Persona 5 Royal, ginormous fan base. Everybody loves it. Stylistically, graphically, everything about the game, people adore that. Wasteland 3, I think next to the others, I can see them having a hard time taking this one. Because even though the game is like fun, I just don't think it kind of compares. Wasteland 3 is kind of it's kind of like a strategy RPG. So that game kind of works as though like you have like a set of characters. It's very similar to XCOM. And you have like a certain amount of distance that you can walk, and you have like certain characters are specialized in certain things, and you have to hide behind certain things. The enemies have their own turn, you have your own turn. So but it's very like straight humor in my opinion. But and Yakuza Like a Dragon also that series has a huge fan base, and the game looks so much fun, and it looks so chaotic, and I want to play it so badly. So I don't think there's no losers in this category per se. Um, it's hard for me to think, like, if we're gonna think about rich player, like, character character customization, progression, and including multiplayer experiences, I can see Genshin winning off of that. But then again, there's not much character customization there. um I don't know about Persona. I know Yakuza has some character customization, so I could see that kind of being more, kind of tackling all the little things, taking all the boxes, if you will. But I don't know. I loved the demo that I played for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I got it on sale recently. I can't wait to play it. But I don't feel comfortable voting for it right now. So my vote is gonna be Genshin Impact. What do you think, Spin?
I think there's a lot of good contenders in this category. So it's really like hard to predict who we think is going to win it, because a lot of these have like really passionate fan bases and a lot of really big games in here. Personally, the one that I mean, it's no surprise I've been addicted to Genshin Impact. Like, it's ruined my life and my sleep schedule. It's like Genshin Impact, you could say it's made a big
Absolutely
impact on
same.
me. But I could also really see Final Fantasy VII Remake winning this. Also, because of that nostalgia factor, I think that adds like a lot to it. Those are my opinions. Chalora, what do you think? Because I know you tend to play a lot of RPGs too. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm still mad about Final Fantasy VII, so I don't want them to win. Everything no offense to anybody, I'm not yucking anyone's yum or nothing, but like everything I've personally seen from Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was like, no. It just didn't tickle my fancy. Genshin Impact, I think, is great, although I don't really know how much of a role you necessarily take in your characters. The characters do have their own backstories, but you don't necessarily get to experience them the same extent that maybe a normal game you would. I'm not sure who won this category last year, but I imagine Persona 5 was a contender in the year that it originally came out. I don't know. But Persona 5, I know that they, because of the Royal or whatever, they like massively improved the writing of the story. So I could definitely see that game being considered. I know that they have a lot of customization as well that they added in the story. Like, typically the characters in that game are very like deep, and you can delve into every character in that game. I don't know Wasteland 3 or Yakuza Like a Dragon at all. But just from doing a quick Google search, neither of them look super impressive to me. Like, I feel like if you can look at a game and be like, yeah, that sounds cool, that looks cool, then typically you can kind of pick it up. But if you can look at an entire Google Images page of the game and just be like, like, is it really that special? So for me, I would say Persona 5 Royal. The reason I would X out Genshin is just because I don't necessarily consider it a hugely role-playing necessarily compared to other games of its type. And I'm mad about Final Fantasy, so. Coco, what do you think?
So the only one of these that I've actually played is actually Genshin Impact, but See, when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm waiting for that to come out on PC, which I guess they're going to do sometime next year. Persona 5 Royal, I haven't played that. I'm waiting on Sega to put that on PC. Yakuza Like a Dragon, I do want to play that a lot. I am going through Yakuza 0, or is it Yakuza 0? One of the two. And I like the game a lot, but I know that with the newer one, they turned it more into a turn-based RPG, which I'm totally fine with. But honestly, all of these look like they have the ability to be a winner. So I don't know if it just maybe comes down to perhaps popularity, maybe. Which of course that's going to go to Final Fantasy VII, like probably that or Persona 5 Royal. How do you feel about that, Jam?
I would probably go with I think I would go with Persona 5 Royal because I feel like it has the kind of the deepest story. When I played the original Persona 5, I really liked it. So I haven't played Persona 5 Royal, but I if they've improved upon what that game was, I could see that taking this category. Um, the new Yakuza, I think, is also a good contender. But I also would agree with Genshin. Like as much as I am playing Genshin now and enjoying it, I don't know how much I feel it's a role playing game. Like in that I'm like playing a role, and I just don't feel like that is what the game really is. But they do have it as this, I think what they describe it as also a massively multiplayer experience. So within what they describe this category as, I think that Genshin has a good ability to win. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I could see it winning, but I don't know if I feel that it should win. Of the ones in this category, to me the top would be probably Persona 5, and then Genshin, just from what their description of the category is. But that's how I would go. I haven't played the new Yakuza game yet, but it looks good, and I do want to play it. But yeah, so I don't know. It's hard. What do you feel, Ruby?
Yeah, like I said, it's I think either of them could win this one. Because I can see very like all of them are different. Within like gameplay and even like the stories and like the settings and all that stuff. So art styles, all of that. I think all of that will impact the decision at the end of the day. I do think it will come down to popularity, but it's also hard because like I feel like a lot of these fan bases are so intense and they go so hard for their games, so it could go either way, truly. So I think I don't think Genshin is gonna win, but I think Genshin could have a shot. But I think it's gonna be between Persona 5 Royal and Final Fantasy 7 Remake for sure. Because just out of like sheer popularity, the franchises have a history. Especially Persona, I feel like has been on an upwards rise when it comes to the brand reputation. I feel like Final Fantasy is like recovering still from their lesser great titles. Even though they are recovering, in my personal opinion, I do think that I feel like Persona could win this one. We also have action adventure next. We have so many categories, y'all. So the next one is action adventure for best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. So we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and The Last of Us Part 2. This is, again, they're so different from each other that it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, that one is definitely gonna win. I will say I think Miles Morales has a really good shot because the game just looks very. I haven't played any of these, by the way, but the game looks very polished. And of course, representation is super important, so I feel like that should also be awarded. I do think that the game has like out of these, I'm like I want to play that game and I want to play Ghost of Tsushima the most. So that also tells you something. I do think that Marvel has the popularity behind it, so I think that's my vote. What do you think, Chalora?
I've seen. So I feel like a lot of these games like just came out,
Yeah,
like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Miles Morales, which both of those games looked incredibly inclusive, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
It just looked really good, polished overall. Um, I barely remember Ghost of Tsushima, but I heard decent things about it. Ori and Will of the Wisps. I think, if I remember correctly, basically all the Ori games are good. But I feel like a lot of times when these awards are done, the older games of the year are totally forgotten, unfortunately, and they typically don't win if they're released earlier in a year, as far as I know, anyway. Um, and I know that there's like a very controversial discussion over The Last of Us, so I'm not sure if that's even going to be a contender just based on all that. Um, but I think it could still win, um, just because I've heard that the story, whether people like it or not, is still rich regardless of its content. But I think the best to hope for would be either Spider-Man or Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I think it is kind of odd that Assassin's Creed and Spider-Man literally just came out. Like those were released on launch of PS5. I believe both of those were. And I could still see either of them winning this because like the fan bases behind those are so passionate. But I think also Ghost of Tsushima might take this away. Just because there was so much hype around that game when it came out, and I think people are still like really into it and really really excited about it, and that's probably one of the ones on here that I'd be most excited to play. So that's probably my pick. Kogo, what do you think? Did you get to play any of these games?
I have not had the opportunity to, but some that I do want to play for sure is Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man Miles Morales. If I get a PS5, I would definitely want to play those probably more than anything on this list. They all look good. I didn't get the chance to play the Star Wars game, but I've heard decent things. That came out during that brief period where EA was like, "All right, we're going to release 2 games with no microtransactions," and they were actually both good, apparently. So we'll see how long that lasts. Assassin's Creed, I haven't really played much of these really since like Black Flag, so I'll try to keep an eye on that one. The Last of Us 2, I never got around to playing 1, but I do want to play 1 and then go into 2. Ori and the Will of the Wisp, I just haven't had a chance to get around to that yet because too many games. But Ghost of Tsushima and Miles Morales are definitely the 2 games that I would want to play the most, and I can definitely see one of those 2 taking it. Although Miles Morales just came out, so that to me that's not really, that's a little bit too soon. Because we have like a few weeks. I mean, people haven't really even let that all digest yet. Plus, a lot of people don't. Well, it did come out on PS4 as well, so a lot of people had an opportunity to play it. But I would say probably for myself, Ghost of Tsushima. Well, I really do want to play that. And how about yourself, Jam?
For me, I would probably go with my vote for the winner, probably being either Ghost of Tsushima or Miles Morales, just because I've been seeing gameplay of that game, and it seems like such a good game and a continuation of what the last Spider-Man game was, and taking all of the good aspects of that and moving it forward, and then also having some some of the the niceties that you would expect of a newer, more polished version of an already pretty polished game. I really like Ori and the Will of the Wisps a lot. I think it's pretty good. I'm currently in the middle of the Fallen Order, and so far it's been great. Um, Last of Us Part Two. I haven't played. The story seems decently good, even with the controversy around it. And Valhalla to me is Assassin's Creed Valhalla has been really good in that I feel like it takes me back to what I enjoyed about Assassin's Creed Black Flag a lot, and I think that's what makes that game so strong of a contender. Though it's weird that it's on this list, seeing as it just came out. Like I just feel like Miles Morales and Assassin's Creed Valhalla being on this list is just weird because they have been out for like what, a week and a half. So for them to be out that long and to be on the list for like best action adventure game is just kind of weird to me. But I guess, would they be on the list next year? No. So I guess you would have to include them now. So I would go with that. So either Ghost of Tsushima or probably Miles Morales would probably win. I would lean towards Ghost of Tsushima because that game just looks amazing. It seems to play pretty well and have a very good story, which I think is a good driver for that. Speaking of action adventure games, we have our next category, which is Best Action Game. And this is for the best game in the action genre, focused primarily on combat. So, less on story, more solely on the combat aspect of it all. So here we have Doom Eternal, we have Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Neo 2, and Streets of Rage 4. So of these games, I've heard of or seen all of them. I've only played Doom Eternal, and the new iteration of the Doom games is just a fun combat game series, I think. And I would put that I would put that pretty high for me, mainly just because of the fact that I've played that game and I really enjoy it. Hades does look good, and I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played it, so I can't give much of an opinion on it. But I know some people here probably think that's the one that should win. So how do you feel about this, Chalora?
I don't know. um,
For people who are not aware, Chalora is
For people who are
typing
us.
in the document and pointing at it and being like, this one, and all of us were trying to contain
So I was
ourselves.
dropping hints.
And and I was just like, oh, I don't know.
I'm dropping hints, Your Honor.
um, I have seen most of these, and since I've seen Hades and heard about Hades, I have only heard the strongest of praises for Hades, both in terms of combat and of story, and the way that it works. It's very I think it's called roguelike, like the way that you pick up abilities and traits as you go. And I've heard that I don't know. It has a lot of replayability because of the different weapons and the different traits that you can pick up. And so I guess the way that the characters work is sometimes if you talk to one character before you talk to another character, they might act differently. They know that you just talked to one character and then talked to, I don't know. It's weird. So it's very deep and detailed. So I think that Hades probably should.
Yeah, I can see Hades being a huge contender for this category. I think I personally played Streets of Rage 4, and I unfortunately think that the game is going to be a little overlooked by all of these like bigger studio or even like better reputation games. But Streets of Rage 4 was such a good comeback to the series. It's been so long since there's been a new Streets of Rage. They brought back all the characters. The music is as good as ever. Like Streets of Rage has an amazing soundtrack. The gameplay was incredible, just updated, and it feels fresh, but it also reminds you of the original Streets of Rage games. So I really, really like love that game so much. I got a copy of it from .mu to stream it on my own account, and I had nothing but praise for it too. Like the art style, everything about it was I loved everything about it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna win because Hades is huge on socials. Rightfully so. The gameplay looks very fluid, fun, art style incredible. All the characters you can thirst about. So yeah, just and it's the probably the only roguelike game that I'm interested in because it's a game that doesn't punish you for dying. Basically, whenever you come back, you basically have new storyline. You can try different character builds. There's cutscenes like Chalora said with like, oh, so you saw this person or that person said this, that person said that. So the characters have a lot of those kind of interactions. So it makes it almost like, oh, okay, I died, but okay, I'll get to rethink things and I'll get to chat with all the characters, and you can pet the dog. So, there's that. What do you think, Spin?
Yeah, actually haven't played any of these games. So this is one where I have very few opinions, so I'll be quick. But of these, the one that I'm the most interested in would definitely be Hades, but I do think Doom might take it away just because of all the hype around it.
I was muted. I can see Doom like also having that. What do you think, Koga?
For me, it would definitely be Doom Eternal. I'm still going through the new DLC, the Ancient Gods, but as for the game itself, it's just so much fun to play. The soundtrack is great and it goes well with the action that's going on. And it'll definitely keep you, on your toes when you're playing it, because it definitely keeps getting harder as time goes on to where it just starts throwing everything at you. Then the DLC is right afterwards and they keep throwing more things at you. So it's definitely just a whole lot of fun to play. I've also played Streets of Rage 4, and that one was thankfully very good. At first, I was kind of like, I hope that they don't mess this up. And they did. They did very good. The soundtrack is great. I bought it like the next day. Um, and it's a lot of fun to play. You go through, levels just it's fun beating the crap out of people, but like you can just like start doing combos, and it just got to a point to where you go scrolling down on Twitter and seeing what people could come up with. And I think that they've done a really good job of just making it to where it feels like an actual sequel, like it actually belongs there, not just something like, okay, it's here now in 2020. It belongs in the series. I haven't played Hades at all. Same with Half-Life. I haven't played Neo 2. I haven't even played the first one. I want to. They've been described to me as like a Ninja Gaiden version of Dark Souls. I do like Ninja Gaiden, but again, you said Dark Souls, and that's going to take a bunch of time already, and we already know how I am about time. So I'll get to them maybe sometime within the next 20 years.
Time. Who has that?
I don't.
Yeah, what do you think, Spin? You got a little cut off there. Your male person sabotaged you. Do you have some thoughts and feelings on this category that you want to finish? You're muted. You're muted. Spin. Send help.
I'm so sorry.
There you go. We did it. If you're reading all our
God, I'm so
captions, you
sorry.
still got something. But if you're listening to this on the podcast services, you're like, so what's the opinion? What's the situation here?
She's unprofessional, Your Honor. Um,
No.
so I was just saying that while I was muted, I was saying that Hades is probably the one that I would be most interested in playing. But I think probably just the hype around Doom Eternal was huge because it came out around the same time as Animal Crossing, New Horizons did, and I remember it kind of being a meme of like both of those games coming out at the same time, and like the hype around them was similar. So I could definitely see Doom Eternal taking this one. Those are all my thoughts.
What do you think,
We
GM?
have...
What was that?
What do you think, GM? Have you played any of these?
Doom is my winner because it's just so it's so fun to play, and it's mainly because I haven't played Hades. Hades looks amazing, and I want to play it. So I just can't give an opinion on if it should win. I think solely based on that, but like for Doom Eternal, it's just like the quickness of the gameplay and how you fight, and it just everything just feels very satisfying in the way that you go through it, and the music fits perfectly, and it's just all so well put together that I feel like it just kind of it makes it a good package for me. And so I think that's the big thing and why I want Doom to win, but I could see Hades winning just because of basically how popular and how much people have really loved this game. And what I've seen of it, it looks amazing and looks like a fantastic game to play. So I could get behind that. And Streets of Rage 4 does have a good soundtrack. I haven't played the game yet, but it looks fun as well. And like you and Koga both said, it seems to fit within the series and franchise as like this is the next in the series, and not just say, oh, we made Streets of Rage for the nostalgia of it. Like we made a game that fits within the context of what that game was and what it felt like, so that people actually want to play it for that reason and not just because, oh, it was a game I played in the past and now I want to play it. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Hades or Doom, I think, are the ones that will win, in my opinion. It's a toss-up for me, but I would probably vote for Doom Eternal. So with that, we can get to the next category, which is on innovation and accessibility. So this is for recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. So within this category, we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Grounded, Hyperdot, The Last of Us Part 2, and Watch Dogs Legion. And so I'm not exactly, I guess, sure on this category. By what they mean by adding features and technology. And I guess the content is the big one, and making it more accessible. But if someone else has more of an opinion, then maybe I can make a more educated guess on these.
Something that The Last of Us did, for example, like I saw someone using it to test its capabilities, but they created sort of for people who might be hard of hearing or hard of seeing, not necessarily blind, but it could maybe if they are blind, it could work, that they could still play the game. I saw it, to be honest, I don't think it was effective, or that it worked appropriately. I feel like if I was whatever the impairment was that this system was for, I probably would be just incredibly frustrated and annoyed, and I'd probably just listen or whatever someone else playing the game instead of playing it myself. But they had like this sound system that would kind of go like wah wah at like different frequencies, based on where your character was placed so that you knew where to walk. But
Okay.
from watching a few different playthroughs on YouTube of the game, I mean, this is really specific to Last of Us, and I don't really know what the accessibility options are for the other games. But from what I saw, they would like walk around to try to test like so the frequency of this noise gets changes based on the distance from the goal location. But it wasn't working at all, and it was very confusing and complicated, and like they would walk a little over there, a little over here, like let's say I'm lost, like it wasn't functional. It just didn't make any sense at all. So I think that they definitely wanted something, and it just to be honest, I don't know why any of these games are on here. I haven't heard of any of them. And I think I've seen other games this year in particular be accessible, and it's not on this list, so I'm not really confident with the.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm aware of off of this list is The Last of Us Part 2. For as much as I don't want to give it credit for other aspects because of their inclusion of like trans trauma and a lot of like not so great representation as far as queer community is related, I will say that at least it was a part of their big marketing campaign that the game had a lot of accessibility options, like more than any game had ever had. And from I'm just basing this off of people I've seen on social media talk about accessibility in gaming, and everybody has noted The Last of Us Part 2 as being basically something to strive for when it comes to like future games coming out. They should kind of look at The Last of Us as an example of what hopefully would be the standard going forward. Probably not perfect, like Chalora said, like probably could be better and could be even more accessible. But I just off of the publicity and off of the conversations on social media, I can only assume that The Last of Us is going to get this one. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on this, Koga?
I guess you could say it's another set of games that I have not played. Imagine that. Okay. So I played Grounded like when it first came out. Well, I'm not sure if it's still in early access. I played it only a little bit, but it crashed, so I turned it off. So it's really hard for me to say because it's innovation and accessibility. These games do that. Like I said, I haven't played none of them, so unfortunately, this is where I'm completely unknowledgeable. Not only these games, but how they fit into this category.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Spin? Do you know any?
I have a lot of opinions.
Yes, please share.
Okay, so I did look into this one a lot, especially because like it does personally affect me. Like I live with like chronic illness and disability, so accessibility in gaming is really important to me. So I did look into all of these. I would say the accessibility features in Hyperdot, I was like, okay, like there's a color blindness option, and there's also like motion sickness options, but like it's not like a whole lot of accessibility features, so I'm just like, all right. Grounded, I would say, probably has like the most unique accessibility features I've seen. Like they didn't have like a huge amount, but they had in arachnophobia mode, where because there are spider enemies in the game, so they have a mode where like if you have arachnophobia and you can't handle the spiders, you can like take the legs off of them, so they're just little blobs. And I thought that was really interesting. Like I feel like that's like phobias aren't necessarily a thing that's talked about when we talk about accessibility. But like especially for people with anxiety, like stuff like that's important. I think that for who's gonna win this, I would say probably either Assassin's Creed or The Last of Us Part 2. With The Last of Us Part 2, I thought what they were trying to do was interesting because like it was in basically all the accessibility modes were in 3 different presets. So there was a vision impaired preset, a hearing impaired preset, and a motor impaired preset. And then you could select one of those and it would give you all of these options that just turned on because of that. And then you could go and you could tweak them if you needed to. My only thing about that is I'm not exactly sure because I didn't play the game myself. I don't know if you could turn on multiple presets because like the thing about disability is when you have one, you're likely to have others. It's called comorbidities. So there's a good possibility that like, I mean, if we're using me as an example, like I have a hearing disability and motor disability. So like, do I have to pick and choose? Like, can I go and customize these things on individually? That was one of the things that I was kind of confused about with that. But I do know that the accessibility presets were like a big part of the marketing. So I think that when people think about accessibility in gaming, they're gonna think of The Last of Us Part 2. The one that out of these that I was like really, really impressed with was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just because it's like the sheer amount of the accessibility features. Like it really feels like they thought of everything. There's like a huge list of accessibility features on the Ubisoft site that I looked at. And like it really feels like they thought of everything. The only thing that might be kind of tipped in The Last of Us favor as opposed to Assassin's Creed Valhalla is like it's a lot to go through. So you're gonna spend like the first like 15 to 30 minutes of your game if you need accessibility features, like going through like, okay, do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? Where with Last of Us Part 2, like they have the presets and you can just be like boop and it has all of these options. So personally, I think I would be behind Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I could see it going either between that or Last of Us Part 2. Those are my opinions.
Just want to say I'm sorry if I was like ignorant or anything. I just like I only saw some of the playthrough for Last of Us. And I was like, this doesn't look helpful or sound helpful at all.
Yeah, that's totally like a valid opinion, because like just because the options are there doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna work for people. You know, like it's really down to like people actually playing the game and testing them out, you know? And that could be a thing with Assassin's Creed Valhalla too, because it's only been out for like a week or so. So I haven't really seen people using the accessibility features. So I don't know how they work in practice. I just know there's so much there, you know?
Yeah.
For our next category, we have Best VR or AR. And it's for the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. So we have Dreams, Half-Life Alyx, Marvel's Iron Man VR, Star Wars Squadrons, and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. This is another one where I've played literally none of the games, but I heard really good things about Dreams. And that's probably the one that I would be the most interested in, because I am a Little Big Planet stan. And Dreams was made by Media Molecule. I feel like kind of the foundation of Dreams, it was explored in Little Big Planet, so I'd be really excited to play Dreams in the future. But I know, Koga, you have some experience with VR. Did you get to play any of these, or do you have any thoughts?
I didn't get to play these. Unfortunately, I have to get another VR headset. Like I said, when I had to move here, that was very sudden, and I had to sell it. So, but there were a few of these that I was interested in playing. I know Marvel's Iron Man that's only on PlayStation VR, so I wouldn't have had the opportunity to play that. But I heard it's all right. But I do like Iron Man, so I would have liked to try it anyway. Then we have Star Wars Squadrons. I'm definitely down for some dogfighting in the space. I just hope I don't get too much motion sickness from flying around. Um, Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. I've heard this one was actually pretty good. Of course, it's nothing similar to like the Telltale games, but this is one of the ones that I've heard is pretty good, so I want to try that one. I also want to try Half-Life as well. And Dreams, I actually have not heard of it too much. So if I had to pick one, I would think might win. I don't know. It might be Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Like to me, it could be either Half-Life, perhaps the Star Wars. I haven't heard too much on how people feel about that one, but either Half-Life, perhaps Star Wars, or Walking Dead. But I definitely don't see Marvel's Iron Man winning that one because I haven't heard the best of it. It just felt like, from what I've heard, that it's an Iron Man game and it's okay, but they could have done a lot more. It just felt like it was a VR title that just didn't do anything special except put you in his suit, but that's it.
Yeah, my thoughts on that one, like I heard basically the consensus around that one was just like, okay, you're Iron Man, great. that was kind of it.
Yay!
Hooray!
Oh wow! What a
Avocado.
situation.
You did that.
Yeah, I haven't experienced any VR or AR titles, especially these. I suffer a lot from motion sickness, so that's kind of something that stops me from even thinking about like, hey, do I want to get a VR headset? Do I want to invest in that? Do I even have enough space for that? So I just kind of have been avoiding it until there's like something that I would consider like, oh my god, I must play this. This is the VR game that I've always dreamed of and all of that stuff. So I will give props to Dreams because as a game in general, I've seen people play that and people create games with that. So, but I don't know if I would nominate it because of the VR and AR capabilities because I know nothing about those features in that game. So I'm just gonna remain. I'm gonna abstain from voting on this one because I literally don't have any thoughts and concerns about either of these. What about you, Chalora?
I've seen a bit of Dreams and Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx, I've heard in really impressive things about it, about like capabilities of what you can do in that game as it being VR. So that could win the category just based on abilities. I know that a lot of VR games suffer from I don't know, like immersion. Um, but I would also say Dreams, but I think that probably not, just because Dreams, I think, is particularly made from users. So I find games that are made from users typically don't win because the game is created by users and not by creators, if that makes sense. But I think that Dreams is an incredibly cool game.
Yeah, GM.
Yeah.
Have you
I
played
would
any of
probably
these?
go with. I have not, but I would probably go with Half-Life Alyx just because of the ability to do things in that game, and I think also the hype around having another Half-Life game when everyone has been waiting on Half-Life 3 forever. Is it Half-Life 3? And granted, it's not, but it gave you Half-Life in another experience and let you experience it in a new way. And I think people really enjoyed that. From what I've seen of Dreams, it seems also, like Chalora has said, seems to be very interesting. But again, like Chalora also said, things made by the players or the fans of the game, which is kind of what Dreams allows you to do, typically don't win. So it makes me weary that it would win. But I could see either of those. But I think Half-Life Alyx might take it just because of the hype around that game kind of when it was announced anyways, and how much praise it kind of got once it did come out. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. So we have our next category, which is the best mobile game. So this is the best game playable on a mobile device, and with that we have Among Us, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, Legends of Runeterra, and Pokemon Cafe Mix. I love Pokemon Cafe Mix, so I want that one to win because I think it's a great, adorable game. But I also like Genshin Impact, so I don't know. I don't know. How do you feel about this spin?
Personally, I think it's between Among Us and Genshin Impact. I also enjoyed Cafe Mix, but I kind of fell off of it a bit. My personal vote would be probably for Genshin Impact, but I think it's between that and Among Us probably. Ruby, what are your thoughts?
I personally would vote for Pokemon Cafe Mix because it's the only one I actually played on like a mobile sense, because the Genshin I only played on PC, and Pokemon Cafe Mix I actually played on the Switch, and you can only play it on handheld mode. So that was the only one, but there wasn't really nothing really like super special about it. I thought it was cute, but the gameplay wasn't like revolutionary or anything. So I think from that standpoint, I think Genshin probably should win because it has the crossplay as well. What about you, Chalora?
I would definitely say either Genshin or Pokemon Cafe. I think Genshin's definitely been more impressive as a mobile game. To be honest, I've never personally been more impressed by a mobile game. It's almost identical to the PC game. I just tried it on mobile just to see if it was any different, and it's the only difference is maybe like reaction time, which is just always a plus of being on PC versus being on mobile or console. But Pokemon Cafe Mix is incredibly cute, and they update it really regularly. So I've really enjoyed it. Cool cut.
I guess I would have to go with Genshin Impact here. The only ones I played on this is that and Among Us, and Among Us wasn't working well for me. Like it wouldn't let me play with anyone. So I haven't played the other ones. I'm also offended that Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle is not. Thank you.
Yes. So for our next few categories for everybody watching and listening, because this episode is running a bit later, we're just gonna kind of go down the line and give our quick thoughts on who we think should win each category. So our next one is best indies. So we have outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. So we have Carry On, Fall Guys, Hades, Splunky 2, and Spiritfarer. Let's go down the line. We can start with Chalora all the way through to Spain. What do you think?
I'm gonna say Hades or Spiritfarer.
I'm gonna say Spiritfarer.
I've played none of these, so I guess Hades.
I've played Spiritfarer and I cannot praise it enough, so I will say Spiritfarer. Such a good game. Y'all should play it. That's it. Spin.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I think Spiritfarer probably should win, but I think Fall Guys might win. Like I know the hype's not as big around it now, but we can't underestimate the hype that it had at launch. So I think it might be Fall Guys. We've got Best Ongoing as our next category. It's awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. And our nominees are Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. Chalora, what do we think?
I think Apex, Destiny 2. I've heard a lot of people got bored. Call of Duty is Call of Duty. It's always going to be the same. Fortnite, I haven't heard anything revolutionary since its release, so I don't think that's going to count. And No Man's Sky, I've dropped and then picked up years later and still hated it more. So I'm going to go for Apex.
I am in 100% agreement with that on basically all of those. I played Destiny 2, found it to be boring. Apex is the only one that kind of kept me coming back to it. And No Man's Sky, played it, hated it, came back to it, still hate it. Toga?
So the only ones of these that I've played is Destiny 2 and Call of Duty, and I guess if I had to pick between the two, it would be Destiny 2. It's not the most fun to me because I do get bored, but I know there are quite a few people that do still play it, and it's been going for a while. So I guess I got to be doing something right for people to keep playing it. Ruby?
I haven't played either, so next. I don't care. Honestly, yeah, neither of these games are interesting to me, so sorry.
Yeah, this is another one I have zero opinions on. But I think it might go to Apex.
Probably.
That's
Or
fine.
Fortnite. It's still popular.
Or possibly Fortnite, yeah.
And they had a Marvel event with it too, so I wouldn't be shocked if there was also that. We have games for impact as our next category for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. I will say all of these games very clearly because I feel like everybody should go back and play these games if you haven't. I haven't played all of them, but I definitely am interested in them. So we have If Found, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, Spiritfarer, Tell Me Why, and Through the Darkest of Times. I will personally vote for Tell Me Why. Because it was amazing representation for the trans community, and you just have to play it. Such a good representation on mental health as well. You think it's gonna go in a direction, and it's mind-blowing. It's really beautiful, and I love everything about it. So Tell Me Why. I hope you win. Spin.
I also really hope Tell Me Why wins, just because amazing portrayal of a trans main character played by a trans actor. Yes, we love to see it. Portrayal of mental illness. I don't know if I've ever seen it handled like that in a game, and I was just really, really impressed by all of it. What do you think about it, Chalora?
I would probably say Tell Me Why, although I have not yet played it. I still want to. Just everyone who's played it has told me, like, over the moon, over Mars, over Jupiter, over Pluto, kind of things about it. Special mention to Spiritfarer for making people cry.
I have to go with Tell Me Why as well. I love that game. I had to stop playing it on stream because I was told I was going to cry, and I did a lot, and I didn't want to do it on stream. It's amazing. If you have the opportunity to play it, please do. If you have Xbox Game Pass, it is on there. Play it. It is amazing. You will. I really don't feel that you will regret it. It's a great story about a trans character played by, like Spin said, a trans actor, and a story about mental illness as well. And it is. I want to cry right now because of how good it was. Koga.
I would say I would vote for Tell Me Why. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a chance to play yet, but one of my closest friends who has played it, she says she was very happy with the representation in the game and felt that it was done very well. So I definitely need to give that a shot when I get an opportunity.
Yes.
All right. So up next, we do have Best Audio Design, which is recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. So we have Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and The Last of Us Part 2. So for me, it's going to have to be Doom Eternal, easily. The music is just amazing, done by Mick Gordon of the main game, who I think is one of the best composers currently. Just done amazingly. Ruby?
I think either... Ooh, that's actually... It's difficult because I've seen gameplay of basically almost all of these. But I haven't played any of them, so I don't know. Spin. I have no thoughts.
This is one I also have no thoughts. Head empty. I tend to miss a lot of like subtleties in sound design, just because of my hearing difficulties. So that's a part of games that's not necessarily hugely important to me. So Chalora, what do you think though?
I also got nothing on this.
All right. I am going to go with Last of Us Part 2 for this one, mainly because of the sound design and how you could hear and where things were in the game from the way they designed the sound. Like you could hear, oh, this is something that's above you or below you. So I would vote Last of Us. and probably secondly Doom Eternal because of the soundtrack. It was amazing and very well done. All right, so moving on from that, we go into the category of Best Score and Music. For Outstanding Music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack, we have Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Last of Us Part 2. For me, I would go with, and this is mainly because I think I played this one, I think Doom Eternal. I think the soundtrack is very, very well done and very well put together. Final Fantasy VII Remake would probably be a second for me, mainly because I haven't heard as much of the music for the rest of them. Koga?
Of course, again, I would have to go with Doom Eternal. The soundtrack is just awesome. I love you, Mick Gordon. Ruby?
I have to vote for Final Fantasy VII with a special shout out to Hades, because I do think that the game has really good music. I feel like all of these have, but Final Fantasy music is I'm very biased with it, so I vote for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Spin.
Yeah, I'm also super nostalgic for Final Fantasy music, so that's probably got my vote for me. But from what y'all are saying about the Doom Eternal soundtrack, I guess I gotta check it out.
Mick Gordon he's amazing. Mick Gordon's amazing.
Out of this with music recommendations. What do you think, Shalora?
I've only heard good things about Doom because of it keeps you really excited, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Which is what they want specifically for that game. I'm not voting for Final Fantasy VII, but I am voting for Nobuo Uematsu because I love him and his work. I've heard really good things about Hades, and I've also heard really good things about Ori, so as well as Last of Us. So I think that all of those are it's gonna be a tough fight.
Yeah, agreed.
What about art direction, y'all? For outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. This one is going to be a tough one because the art styles are so different. So we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori and Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. I personally think that Hades deserves this one. Just because everything visually about that game is stunning. I find no flaws within it, and I feel like I don't know, but Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm sure The Last of Us may have certain flaws and visual glitches, which I haven't seen with Hades. So I'm just gonna say that. Spin.
For this one, for me, I'm probably gonna go with Ghost of Tsushima, just because that game is so pretty. I watched a lot. I didn't play it myself, but I watched a lot of gameplay footage of it, and every time I watched gameplay footage, I was just completely stunned at how beautiful the game is. If I ever did play that game, I'm just gonna spend the whole time looking at the trees because they're so beautiful. What do you think, Chalora?
I'll probably say Ghost of Tsushima 2. I haven't seen, unfortunately, the gameplay, but I've seen some of the visuals anyway. I haven't really been impressed or blown away by art direction in a game since Okami. So I'm still waiting for that moment where I'm jam.
I'm gonna probably also go with Ghost of Tsushima, and then Hades would be a very close second for me. With Ghost of Tsushima, I think my biggest thing is the way they use the world to kind of direct you in ways. Games have a way marker, and they use just a very beautiful way of making the grass blow to direct you where to go. And I thought that was just very beautifully done. And everything else, the trees, beautiful, the people, beautiful, all of it looked great. Koga?
Okay. For me, I have to go with Ghost of Tsushima. Unfortunately, I have not had the pleasure of seeing that in person, but from what I've seen of people who've playing it, it looks very beautiful. It's a game that when I do get around to playing it, whenever I get a PlayStation 5, I would probably be looking around and just enjoying the visuals. It looks very, very appealing to the eyes.
Yes. Next up, we have Best Narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. So our nominees are 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Send help. Final Fantasy VII Remake. We have Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, The Last of Us Part 2. I haven't really delved into the gameplay of any of these in detail. I will say I find that the writing in Hades is interesting and how they tell the story, and they use the fact that when you play a roguelike, you're going to die a lot. So I like that they use that, and the characters have different, like, they treat you differently, and there's always, like, because the main story about Hades is him trying to escape, and I like the idea of, like, the characters, like, give him attitude of, like, oh, you really tried, or, like, oh, you thought you were going to do that kind of thing. And, oh, so-and-so said you couldn't do it, or so-and-so beat you up, didn't they, and stuff like that. So I'm going to vote for Hades for that reason specifically. What about you, Chilora?
I don't know. I feel like we're just seeing, like, the same 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
For everything. And it's, like, irritating. I would probably also say Hades just because of the depth of the story building that they did. And, like, every time you play it, you're probably going to experience at least one thing that's different every single time, even if you play it 100 times. So I would do that one. Damn.
I would agree on Hades. I think the roguelike aspect makes the narrative storytelling pretty strong in that game because it's always a different experience kind of each time you go through it. What about you, Koga?
I have played none of these, so unfortunately that's not something I can really go with. But sounds like I need to play Hades.
Spin.
Yeah, I'm also really intrigued by the story of Hades. So I would go with that one. For our next category, we have Best Game Direction, which is awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. And our nominees are Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and The Last of Us Part 2.
I've never heard of games, but
I know, we're just hearing these names for the first time today, aren't we? Like, wow, these have never been nominated in any of the other categories.
Never ever.
I do feel like we are seeing a lot of the same games.
Yeah.
Like, out of these, I'm definitely most intrigued to play Hades or Ghost of Tsushima.
I don't have an opinion on the direction of these games. I definitely would say not Last of Us, because if we're gonna specifically talk about, you know, the direction in which the game went several times, and if we're gonna talk about
that direction.
we do not love that direction. If you're in the queer community, you know. But I will not vote on this one because I haven't played either of them. But I want to play Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, and Hades the most out of these. So those are my thoughts. Chilora?
I don't care for any of them. I mean, I care about them, but, like, I don't think I've even played any of these, so I can't give great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of agreed in that. I can't really vote on this.
Koga, what do you think?
Koga?
It's the same.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Remake, they pretty much changed the gameplay completely different than the original, so it's nothing for me to really go with, unfortunately.
Yeah. But we do have our last but not
Big
least,
one.
which is Game of the Year, y'all. So that category is supposed to recognize a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Our nominees are Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, The Last of Us 2, The Last of Us Part 2, excuse me. Again, a lot of the same stuff. It's not surprising, though, for Game of the Year that we're going to get the most popular games of the year on here. I don't feel comfortable voting for Final Fantasy VII Remake, not because I don't think it's great as a game, but I think it feels weird voting for, like, a remake or, like, you know what I mean, for a Game of the Year. I think I would want to give that to someone who did something new for that year. And I don't. Ugh, this is hard. This is really hard. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if The Last of Us 2 won this one. Wouldn't be shocked because of how popular it is. Not my choice personally, but I wouldn't be shocked. I think Animal Crossing kind of deserves it for me. I don't know. It's not something new necessarily, but it's like if we're going to talk about 2020, it's the year of the pandemic, and Animal Crossing totally defines that, and I feel like has like helped so many people get through this year. So I vote for Animal Crossing on that specific reason. What do you think, Spin?
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to be Animal Crossing. Because like I feel like years from now, when people think of 2020, they're gonna think of Animal Crossing. Like even not specifically in gaming necessarily, Animal Crossing just. I feel like people use the term cultural reset a lot, but it was kind of a cultural reset. Changed my mind. So yeah, I feel like Animal Crossing deserves Game of the Year. Chalora, what do you think?
I'm also gonna say Animal Crossing. I would say Hades, but I feel like Animal Crossing, like it started the year, and it's been a consistent discussion, obsession, meme, just consistently used, consistently played. Like people aren't going to stop. It's still at the peak of its prime. For a lot of people, and a huge community still follows it. Whereas a lot of these games picked it up, dropped it off. Like I think if you're going to say Game of the Year, Animal Crossing.
Game of the Year is 100% Animal Crossing, in my opinion. It is. Yeah, I think it will be remembered as a part of 2020, right? Like forever. And I think that's the biggest thing to me. That's an impact of Animal Crossing. Like, Last of Us 2 Part 2, I think will be remembered. I think the Final Fantasy VII remake will be remembered, but I think Animal Crossing will forever be associated with this year, which to me makes it Game of the Year. Koga?
For me, it's gonna have to be Doom Eternal. It hits so many things right for me personally. Like I said, the soundtrack, but also the visuals. It's very well optimized, so it's not like it's a pain to run, and still looks great. It's fun to play. It feels really good to play, and you learn more of skills and get more weapons. You can find ways to use those to come across this whole hordes of enemies. For me, it's just when I think of a video game of what I want, that's one of the best examples that I can give. It's fun to play, and it makes you feel like a complete badass when you're playing it. It makes you feel really good.
Excuse me. There you go. And those were our thoughts on Game of the Year. Everybody, we're not going to get into what we're playing because y'all have been watching and listening for the longest time ever. This is our longest episode so far. This was a big one.
Yeah, it was a long one. But we did that.
You're welcome, and also we're sorry. But quickly before we go, where can everybody find you? We can go down the line, maybe in an inverse order. So we can start with Spin, and then we can go up to Chalora. So where can people find you? Anything you have upcoming that people can look forward to, Spin?
Sounds good. You can find me at twitch.tv/spinblend. I'm also Spinblend on Twitter. And I mostly play Nintendo games, and I make soap. I have a soap shop. We're going to be doing a little sale for a little thing called Black Friday. Soon. Support small businesses for Black Friday.
Hell yeah.
And also don't go outside. Don't get coronavirus because you want to sail on a TV.
Right. Don't do it.
Important PSA.
Very important PSA. Stay safe, y'all, especially as the holiday season is upon us. Stay safe, please.
Yes.
That 20% off is not worth it.
Absolutely not.
But speaking of a good sale, I did get Final Fantasy VII Remake on sale, not for Black Friday. I knew they were going to have a sale before Black Friday, so I snatched it, and the Black Friday sale is not as good. I'm just going to say that. But I'm going to play that this week. So
she's a bargain hunter, Your Honor.
Yeah, a bargain hunter. Yes, absolutely. I love that. You can find everything Project Ruby at projectruby.eu. You can find my socials. If I'm live, you can see my streams on there. She has a website, Your Honor. I'm a variety creator. I play a little bit of everything. So yeah, get into it. Banjo Kazooie, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Spiritfarer right now. So if you like any of these, come to my streams. Check out my socials. All of the above. Koga?
So you can find me on Twitter at Koga_Jangles and also Twitch.tv_Jangles. Tomorrow I'll be doing another Sega Saturn Sunday. This is, of course, the third week we've been doing this. I'm just doing it as long as till I just don't feel like doing it anymore, or whenever I just want to play something else. Last week we went through a few games like NBA Jam, an Iron Man game, and some other game I don't remember where it was like a full motion video shooting at the screen. It was very weird. So it's just me going through a bunch of random games, whether I played them or not, and just enjoying the gem that is Sega Saturn. Because I feel that there was a lot of good stuff on that, and we missed out, whether it be because it didn't last that long or it didn't come out over here in America. Jam?
You can find me on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at jam_5899. This week, we will be back on stream, actually, and we'll be doing some science on Monday, and then on Wednesday, we'll be playing some Cuphead. So we're going to read through a paper on Monday, and we're going to learn all about your neurons and how they form, baby. It's going to be fun. Chalora?
Did Final Fantasy VII go on sale because it's bad?
Who?
My hatred runs deep.
It's nominated for Game of the Year, so I don't know.
Choices.
Spicy opinions.
People make choices and sometimes they're wrong.
The flavor, the seasoning.
Well, then why would it go on sale?
Chalora, just promote yourself.
You can find me on twitch.tv/Chalora, but not right now because I'm kind of sick and I'm working on a million things at the same time. But I'm still around. I'm on Twitch doing a bunch of things. I've got projects coming out. I've got newsletters coming out. I've got, which you can find on Twitter at Chalora with a 0 instead of a O. And you can also check out Stream Queens Con, which I have been heavily working on, which is between the 16th and the 19th of December. Schedule will be coming out soon, so you can check all that stuff out. We've got huge amounts of really interesting guests, content, and things going on during that week. So I hope that you guys will check out what we got going on.
Yeah, support everybody. Have a good holiday season, everybody. We love you. We'll be back next week on twitch.tv/Just Gaming Tingz. We're also on YouTube. Look up Just Gaming Tingz on there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need to get those 100 subscribers to get the custom URL so that you don't have to look for us anymore. You just type out our name on your thing, and that's that. We're also on all the podcast services like Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of those wonderful places you can listen to us. Especially on an episode like this, you probably want to listen to us and not stare at us for 2 hours. I'm just,
I mean, we're cute though.
We are.
Speak for yourself.
We are, and you can see us trying to contain ourselves from laughing because we're doing shenanigans behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a fun time for sure, regardless of how you consume our content. But yeah, we love you. We'll be back next week, and stay safe, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.